Taking a look at the Week 6 hot or not guys that you should start or sit in your fantasy football for Week 6. Starting with the not side, one bunch of running backs that I would not start this week unless I didn't have a better option. One is Eddie Lacy of the Packers going up against Baltimore on the road. Uh, Ravens defense is pretty solid, especially against the run. Packers still don't run block exceptionally well, and on the road it's just going to be a tough sled for Lacy. Definitely one guy you want to sit on your bench. Another guy that's kind of a surprise, Jamel Charles of the Chiefs. Normally he's an every week pick. But if you have better options, then you might want to look at it this week. Going against the Raiders, but the Raiders last year really shut him down despite the terrific season that Jamel Charles had. So he's more of an iffy play on my end until he proves he can actually run against this team. He still might catch a few passes, and so in a PPR league, might have a little bit more value. But if you have better options than Jamel Charles, definitely look at them this week. Also, Frank Gore up against the Arizona Cardinals for the 49ers is a guy you should sit on the bench. He'll get a lot of action as the 49ers try and use their power run game against the Cardinals defense. But the Cardinals defense is very solid. And I wouldn't expect Frank Gore to have a big day, or really anyone in that game. It seems to be, to me, it's going to be a defensive matchup between Arizona and San Francisco, which goes to another guy you should sit on your bench this week, Larry Fitzgerald of the Cardinals. Carson Palmer's kind of iffy behind a poor offensive line. Fitzgerald's a little bit nicked up, and the 49ers have a terrific defense and a solid defensive backfield. Definitely Fitzgerald, I think, is a guy you should sit on your bench. And lastly, any Pittsburgh Steeler that is out there. The Jets have a very good defense. It's on the road, and the Steelers don't have many fantasy options to begin with, but they don't run well. And with the Jets defense, I just don't see any Pittsburgh Steeler worthy of starting at any position at any time. Especially during this week, however. On the hot side, guys, that you should start, I would go with A.J. Green of the Bengals. Now, he's been a little bit of a disappointment after the first week as they've dialed back Andy Dalton's responsibilities, telling him we've got a good enough defense, just don't lose it for us. It has hurt A.J. Green. He has not had over 70 yards receiving in each of the last 4 weeks. I think he's going to have to have a big day. And he's just got too much talent to not have a day that is just going to have a couple of touchdowns attached to it. It's more of a wishful think right now than a specific, he is just going to light up some team. But guys that have as much talent as A.J. Green have a tendency to see that talent shine through in a couple of games where they just dominate the game, and I think this will be one of them. Another one is Torrey Smith of the Ravens going up against a poor Packers secondary. Look for Smith to have a big day at home for the Ravens. I also would say Cam Newton against Minnesota. Don't like him on the road, but Newton might be able to run the ball a bit more. He's been a real disappointment this year as far as fantasy quarterbacks go, but I look for him to have a solid performance against the Vikings and maybe even score a rushing touchdown. Other guy that you would look at is RG3 against the Cowboys. Cowboys don't have a whole lot of defensive secondary support right now. They were torched, of course, for the Broncos, which is no shame, but they did give up 51 points, which is a shame. RG3 should have a solid day. And then on the other side of the ball in that game, the Redskins have maybe the worst defense in the NFL. And so I would look for almost any Cowboy out there. Witten, Romo, Murray, of course Bryant, you're always going to play. Look for the Cowboys to light up the Redskins' poor defense and have a terrific week. Those are the guys I look for, hot or not, for Week 6.